Man, oh man, do I not want to be filming this video right now because I sound like this, because my allergies are in overdrive. Alas, I need to film this video right now because the stock market is non-stop ripping to the upside. I swear, every single time I look at it, it's just higher and higher and higher. I know my tendies are green. I know the Goonie community tendies are green. And I hope if you're watching this, you are making more money than you could shake a stick at. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down why the market continued to the upside today. And then I also want to call out what to pay attention to for the remainder of this week. I also want to give you a couple thoughts on why this particular week, the monthly expiration, might be kind of a high watermark in at least the short term, and we might see a little bit of a breather. So that's everything in this video. Obviously, if you enjoy these type of market breakdowns, don't forget to like, subscribe, let me know your thoughts in a comment below. And with all that being said, let's rock. By the time the stock market went dingity ding ding ding, here's what mainstream media had to say. S&P 500 closes higher Tuesday, wiping out the 2025 loss as Nvidia surges. Yes, folks, you heard that right. We are officially green. Tech stocks are ripping, and all of a sudden those naysayers about the market getting crushed and what are we doing? Well, now they're kind of awkwardly quiet. So just on a zero DT perspective, quite a bit of green. Healthcare uniquely red because of what's going on in United Health Group. In fact, that's why the Dow also got hit. Consumer defensive also a little bit weak, but the major tech and finance and consumer cyclical stocks that you're a fan of, that I'm a fan of, well, they were pretty much ripping. The SPY putting in a nice gain of 6.7%, the Nasdaq 1.5%, coin ripping 24%. Folks, you didn't hear that wrong. You didn't read that wrong. Coinbase, ticker symbol COIN, ripping almost 25% today. Of course, we'll be talking about that. And then Palantir is the gift that keeps on giving, up 8%. And that's just to name a few. Obviously, if you look at my watch list above my head right now, it's all just green. It is all just gravy. So let's take a step back and look at the S&P 500. Ripped at the start of the day, grinded up for the rest of the day, and in the final 15 minutes, we had a little bit of a sell-off. Why did that happen? Well, the answer is zero DTE call traders locking in their gains all day. Buying calls, buying calls, buying calls, buying calls, and then right around 10:42, 10:45, you had those zero DT players start to sell their calls off, lock in their tendies. That dropped the delta, and that's exactly why we saw this sell-off. Now, in real time, in the Discord, I saw that happening, so I use that as an opportunity for me to hit the ejecto-cedo button. If you watch the live stream, shameless plug, Monday to Friday, 9 to 11, you can see me degenerately trading my own account. You know that I had a lot more Tesla. You know I had SPY. You know I had Qs. I had calls on all of them. I dumped it all. Well, not all. I got out of a lot of the SPY, a lot of the Qs, a portion of the Tesla, and I'm still holding my Apple. And that is a nice $40,000 return on a one-day basis, which is pushing my last week to $134,000. And as of right now, year to date, I'm up 3 bills, also known as 343%. So right now, the Goonie community is crushing it. Of course, if you want this stuff in real time, you can do it. And better than that, you could do it for FREE. Yes, you can become a Goonie Discord trader right now for an entire month for free. You get my trades, whether day trades or swing trades, the Piper model, which is interesting, and I'll explain that when you get into the Discord. You get all the previous videos. You get access to all the other traders, voice chat, written chat. There's a lot going on, and the best part is it is free. There's no harm to you. Check it out for a month. If you like it, great, stick around. And if it's not for you, completely understand. You can move on with your way and not have to pay anything. But in reality, let's go back to why the market continued its upward push today. And the answer is inflation. Mild April inflation captures early stages of tariff effects. What I'm trying to illustrate right here is how, depending on your media source, you're going to get a completely different, spin on the news. So yes, inflation came out cooler than expected, but if you ask the Wall Street Journal, we're saying, oh yeah, no, early stages of tariffs. If you go over to CNBC, annual inflation rate hit 2.3% in April, less than expected and lowest since 2021. Technically, these are both factually accurate, but you see what I'm saying about the spin here. Wall Street Journal spinning it in a way of, ooh, early stages of tariffs. We told you tariffs would be bad. CNBC saying this is actually the best reading we've gotten in a hot minute. Obviously, CNBC's was a little bit more accurate relative to what the market did today, but also this is just your friendly neighborhood reminder that check multiple news sources because obviously there's biases built into all of them. Then the market continued higher on another update from really the overall economy and the globe, but really specifically Trump, I suppose. Trump to lift sanctions on Syria, touts deals in Middle East tour. War-devastated nation seeks U.S. investment to rebuild as Saudis commit billions in American deal-making. It is the latter half of that sentence that really the market liked, but it's also a bit confusing. White House announces $600 billion. Please remember that number. Saudi investment in U.S. during Trump visit. All right, that's good. It was announced this morning. We had this big talk. The tech sector particularly liked it. And then we got this. Trump and MBS tout a $1 trillion pledge as details remain elusive. Well, it's not only elusive, but it seems to be $400 billion off. What is going on there? President Donald Trump and Saudi Crown Prince MBS announced a pledge of $1 trillion in commercial deals, but the actual value of the deals is disputed, with signage at the conference putting the total at over $300 billion and the White House citing $600 billion. So now we have three different moving numbers. They signed for $300 billion, White House saying $600, but then just being generically reported as $1 trillion. I mean, I guess, hey, what's $700 billion amongst friends, you know? According to Trump, with the help of people in the Middle East, the people in this room, partners throughout the region, the golden age of the Middle East can proceed right alongside of us. We will work together, we will be together, we will succeed together, we will win together, and we will always be friends. So obviously, that's the overall deal making, but there were a couple individual stocks that really liked it. NVIDIA is sending 18,000 of its top AI chips to Saudi Arabia. I don't know if you saw it, but NVIDIA having a really good day. Obviously, we'll be checking in on that, but it didn't stop there. Elon Musk says Starlink was approved in Saudi Arabia. Another good sign for Starlink, and obviously Tesla even in itself having a good day. So if you take all of this news and wrap it up, what does it add up to? Well, awkward situation for Goldman Sachs. Just in, the $2.8 trillion asset manager Goldman Sachs reduces the U.S. recession odds to 35%. A couple weeks ago, they had it all the way up at 80. What does that mean? It means that the market is really going. Ever since this low point, we are now officially up about 20%, which granted does mean we are about 4% from the all-time high, which is granted way better from the 21% we did drop, but this is quite the miraculous recovery. And with that, obviously right here, you can see SPX putting in currently trading just below 5,900. We did tag it. That is a key open interest level. There's a lot of people playing that. There's even more people playing 6,000. So right now, pretty solid return, but it's getting to that point where, all right, are we going to take a bit of a breather? Before I get into that, I do want to cover some of these. Palantir, new all-time high. I know many of you watching this right now are very elated by that. It's ripping. Ever since its earnings, Rumble will not stop, gaining another 6%. Ever since its recent low, it is now up 41%. NVIDIA with that deal, ripping again, gaining 5.6%. Ever since its low, NVIDIA is now up 50%. What a disgusting return. Tesla, I know not exactly the whole Starlink thing, but granted, ever since its recent low, it is up a whopping 56%. I mean, the recent run itself is 23%. And obviously, I would argue that there's a decent amount of room to run. Broadcom, another semiconductor play, ripping. Meta, another one ripping. And then obviously the biggest gain of the day, Coinbase up 24%. Now, obviously, there was no specialty deal with terms of Trump and Saudi Arabia and Coinbase, but we did get a specialty deal with the S&P 500. Coinbase joining the S&P 500 days after Bitcoin soared past 100,000. This just means a lot of people running funds who have to mimic the S&P 500 are now forced to buy coin and sell whichever one is going to get kicked out. But obviously, hats off to you if you played Coinbase today because it was ripping. Now back to the overall market. Not only are we coming up to a key technical resistance zone, but I do want to talk about really what we've been seeing in the options flow of, remember, a lot of the option chain right now is call dominate. That's good. That's bullish. A lot of the open interest is call dominate. Unfortunately, a lot of those calls are set to expire this Friday, as in a lot of that supportive positive gamma that we've all been banking on and relying on is going to burn off at market close this Friday. So that could be bad. Of course, there is an opportunity where people choose to roll it, and if they target next week, we're bueno, we're good, nothing to worry about it. If they roll it to the next monthly, as in the June monthly, well, it's a bit farther away, so the gamma influences aren't that much, so maybe a little bit of a problem. And then also, if they choose to not roll at all and just take their money, well, that means all this supportive flow we've been getting is going to be nothing. It's going to be kaput, and that actually might be prompting us to take a little bit of that breather, especially from the technical perspective, where we have the downside gap fill at 5,700 and then another one at 5,300. So just be careful. My base case for the remainder of this week is that the bulls are fully in control, but please be careful about what happens after expiration this Friday, where if we don't see that positive bullish roll to next week or to the next month, this train might be taking a bit of a breather. Please do not be surprised if that happens. And of course, you should pay attention to other major things. Wednesday, the 14th, crude oil inventories, but really the party's going to be on Thursday. We get retail sales, we get the producer price index, and Chair Powell will be speaking, and that all happens before the market opens. And then I should remind all of you, on Thursday, we're also going to be ideally hearing the ceasefire update between Russia and Ukraine, and Trump might be involved. And then on Friday, of course, we're going to be getting the consumer sentiment numbers. And also in between all of that, we have some earnings. I would say the major ones you should be paying attention to from here to the remainder of the week is Cisco, Alibaba, Walmart, John Deere, and maybe a little bit of Kava, but effectively we're pretty much done with the earnings season. So that's everything you should be paying attention to, at least in my personal opinion. It's definitely what should be in the back of your mind, especially with relation to the option structure shift, because that could be a really big deal. So don't think that next week is going to be behaving like this week, because next week isn't going to be a monthly expiration. So this is like the big deal here. So of course, just be mindful of what's going on. These beautiful trends have to end at some point. Don't think that they're just going to be continuing forever, but while they are continuing, obviously make that money. That's what I have for you now. Of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in a comment below, and I'll do my best to assist as many of you as I possibly can. Other than that, I'll catch you in the show tomorrow morning, and then I'll catch you in the update video tomorrow night. I appreciate all the good vibes.